to be the one to break it to you, but sex education of the past failed us. Because birds and bees, they don't fuck. Welcome to Birds and Bees Don't Fuck, a podcast where we learn exactly how bad our formative sex education, or lack thereof, really was. I'm your host, Ariel Zadok. I'm an intimacy coordinator, producer, and sex educator. My guest today is an adult film production designer. Welcome to the show, Braxton Holme. Yes.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming and being on the show.
Of course.
We met half naked in a pool.
Oh my God, stop. Yes. Yep, I was definitely having like my kin moment. Definitely sought out that bathing suit just so I can look like a Barbie doll.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, that's right, because it was about that time. That place was super intense. It was like a rodeo all-star. I used to live in Florida, so it was like flashbacks.
I don't know, is that good or bad?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a moment. It was my first time being there, and a lot of people talked about it. And I was like, well, I love a good pool rooftop moment. They're like, yeah, it's like a Western theme. And I was like, okay, cute, whatever, it could be something. But I did not know that people were going to be wearing cowboy boots and jeans, and it was 90 degrees, poolside.
It was a lot. It was full, this is where, I think this place is called Desert 5.
Yeah, Desert 5.
Desert 5. And this is the place where every single cowboy girl person fantasy comes through in LA on a teeny tiny little rooftop. It's not even that
so
big.
small. So small.
I don't think I've been anywhere this crowded ever.
I feel like the bathrooms combined were probably the size of the entire rooftop. Where
oh my
people
God.
can actually be at, because the men's bathroom was massive, and I was like, you guys are wasting so much space here.
So much real estate.
The pool is so tiny. There's 5 people in the pool and it's crowded. So maybe that's on purpose.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's busier.
Perhaps, and maybe everyone just went in the pool to pee. Also, I lost my bikini bottoms that night, which is.
Yeah, I left this all that took place.
It was so damn time.
I'm dead.
Because I was hosting a show. I host a sexy acrobatic strip show.
Oh, fun.
It's over at 340 nightclub in Pomona.
Okay.
And the theme was, it was a rodeo, a rodeo.
So you were just having a full-on cowboy day.
Full-on cowboy week. It was the whole thing. And it was my birthday week too, because Hannah and I have birthdays 3 days apart. And I do not like cowgirl shit, but I was like, whatever. And then I went but I was like, great, cows. I'm going to wear my cow bikini everywhere. Cow bikini everywhere. I love cows. It's so weird and quirky, and I love it. And then I got ready to go to the show, and I had to drive 2 hours to get there, and I couldn't find my fucking bottoms.
Okay, I'm kind of confused now. So what were you wearing in the midst of all this?
I do not know how I lost my bottoms. After we went swimming, I put on a skirt. I put my skirt back on.
Gotcha.
And the thing with vulvas is that they get yeast infections very easily.
So I've heard.
You've heard. And so I was like, well, I can't be wearing, and I was not sober. And I was like, well, I can't be wearing this bottom. And I kind of remember changing. I was wearing underwear. I had a thong on. I have no idea what happened to those bottoms. And then I went to the hotel because I was like, fuck, I have to do this show. Find me my bottoms. So I'm calling security.
No, you did not.
I went there and I was like, my bikini bottoms are missing.
You're like, ma'am, I don't know what to tell you. A lot of things lost here, along with dignities.
Hunt for cow bikini bottoms, and it's ridiculous.
Wait,
I was I have to perform in a show.
I guess the question here is, did you ever find them? Did they ever find them? No.
No, I bought a new bikini. I bought it off of Amazon. And this is now my third cow bikini, but I only have one bottom between all 3 bikinis.
It's something about these bikinis. If you lose this third one, you just gotta call it quits. Call it quits. Just wear the top with a nice skirt.
I will not give up on my cow bikini.
It's hilarious. I love that.
Yeah, I thought maybe you might.
Yeah, no, that was great.
Costuming.
That was a wonderful way to kick this off. Thank you so much. This is her warming me up, by the way, guys.
Yeah. Are you warm? Are you ready?
I'm hot.
Oh my God, we are so hot right now. Please tell me about how you clothe naked people.
Right. So it's a really funny story how I even got into the industry. I never thought that I would be into adult or anything of the sort. I'm nothing against it at all. I think it's amazing. People that actually work in the industry are like fabulous, and then we'll get into that further down the road. But I was actually shooting for a brand because I model as well, and the photographer, she does retouching for this company, and she knows that I've been styling. Oh, okay, I'm a jack of all trades, so model, stylist, whatever. So she's like, "Oh, I know you like style. Like, would you ever be interested in going into adult?" And I was like, That's something to think about. She was like, it's a full-time position. Like, you have like office days, you'd be on set, and like all this Monday through Friday. Mind you, I was coming from like retail. I've been retail like all my life. I was like in like the heart of Beverly Hills, working one street off of Rodeo, like hands on like fashion straight off the runway. So it was like really hard to pull me from that. But a full-time stylist job, like those are few far between in LA, right? So I was like, okay, look, I'll give it a try. I'll go and I'll interview, see what they say, and then we'll go from there. And I mean, 4 interviews down the road, they were like obsessed and were like, we want you. And I was like, I guess I'm doing this. I guess I am doing this. And I was so nervous, never have been on like any sort of set like this, rarely watch like hetero porn, like I'll be honest. And so I was like, I have no idea what I'm gonna get myself into. Like, what if I get turned on while being on set? That's gonna be awkward. Like, what, you never know what's gonna happen. So,
and it's such a valid question to ask, because for you it's visible. For me, I can hide it.
Tell me about it. And that point in time, this was like what, 2 years ago. I was like skinny jeans every day. So I was like,
you were real
God. So like I got on set like 2 days within the position, and it was for one of our brands where they like, the male is like an African American male. We like idolize him. He's like so awesome. And so I was like, okay, great. So I'm about to be my first scene with a black dude with a huge penis. So this is going to be intense. So I was like, great, love that for myself. So sure enough, I get on set and it gets whipped out, and I'm just standing there like, what did I get myself into? Like questioning.
There's a large penis in front of my
face.
And
just like questioning everything. Like, it is noon right now and you're naked in front of me in like this penthouse in downtown, and like everyone else just chill with it. Like everyone's like, no big deal. He's like on the couch, like maintaining his like hard on in between sets, and I'm like, wow, this is where I'm at now. So it took me a little bit of a moment to get like comfortable with it, but I was like, it's body parts. Everyone does it. It's totally fine. But there was one moment within this job that really like turned and made everything like click. And we were on the set of, we're doing an orgy scene. And it was set in like a library. So I kid you not, the people that we have working for us are like insane at what they do. And so the art team literally turned this 2-story like penthouse that we had downtown into an actual library. I mean, like velvet curtains, bookshelves, like the tough like leather furniture. Like, it was beautiful. And like the performers come in, we had like decked them out. I put the girl in like a latex cat suit. The story was insane. So like, it was like the main character, she was trans too. So I was like, fuck yeah, like we're hitting every point here. So we had a trans lead, and then we had another girl, which was like her pet, and she was the black cat. So we put her in like a latex top with latex thigh highs, and she was like sitting on the couch, like purring.
Oh my God.
And then we had the guy, and he was like a butler. So he was like bent next to like the lead character with his hand out. She was just smoking like ash in his hand.
What a dream.
It was so bossy.
I want to be her.
And then we had another character, obviously. But before the sex ensued and like they were going over the storyline and everything, it was a choreographed dance that they were talking through. Like, okay, we're going to have you here. We're going to have this leg here. We're going to have you guys move this way. And I'm just sitting there in awe. I'm like, this is so beautiful. Like, how this is all thought out. And like, coming from like a dancer's background, I danced competitively for 5 years. And so that, and then also being someone that's a lover for visual arts, I was like, this brings everything that I love all into one. Not to mention, like, I'm a huge, like, freak in my own like lifestyle. So I was like, this is amazing, because like I get to tap into like all my interests and all my passions, and like I'm here making great money doing it. So it was just like seeing how they actually ran the ship there, and just seeing like the background and how everything has worked in adult, especially for the company I work for. Like, we're like pretty high up there, like Lux. So it was nothing like super grimy. Everyone that we worked with are like well professional. So it was beautiful. And I think that was a turning point for me, where I was like, this isn't just like people get here to bang, get paid, and leave. It's like, no, this is well thought out. This is a 45-minute like script, like I think it was like 40 page. Like, it was a long situation, but I was like, we're making a movie. It's like an X-rated HBO show is what I'm making here. So that's what changed it for me. And so ever since then, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I'm just going deeper and deeper. I started out doing being a stylist for them. Then I moved to running the wardrobe department, and now I'm taking over art and props. So I do all things creative for this company.
Yay!
Yeah,
Congratulations!
it's amazing. I love it so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And what a story! What a way to fall in love with it. And I think that so many people have preconceived notions about porn and about adult entertainment. And listen, a lot of it is very valid because there's a lot of problematic porn out there. There's a lot of abuse out there. There's a lot of really, really non-consensual shit happening. There's a lot of bad stuff. But when you go to a reputable company and you're watching a production that is from a reputable, ethical company, now we are getting into the creative process. And it's not just about a bunch of people showing up and fucking. Same thing with like any intimacy you see on screen. Obviously, the difference between what you do and what I do is that they are not allowed with SAG rules to have any actual sexual content.
I'm so
everything is
intrigued by that.
Yes.
So intrigued. Because can we jump into this real quick?
Let's
because
do it.
I have questions.
Yes, let's do it.
Because like in these scenes where I heard that it's like a little tape thing that they put over the vagina.
Yeah, so we'll do all sorts of different masking. So when you're looking at an intimate scene between actors in any sort of non-pornographic content, we can't have there cannot be any actual sexual content. No penetration, no genital to genital touching, no mouth to genital touching. We can't do anything like that.
Gotcha.
No digital to genital touching, nothing like that.
Right.
Everything has to be simulated.
Okay.
Those are the union guidelines. There's also different licensing for porn versus any non-pornographic content.
Yeah.
So we're talking about all sorts of different legal contracts, different licensing. Like there's a whole plethora of legal reasons why you can't just have them have sex, besides all of like everything else, like the human aspect of it. Like just from a legal perspective, there are different, boundaries that we have. So that means anytime you are shooting an intimate scene or, nudity or simulated sex or anything like that, it has to be simulated. So we're going to use a whole bunch of different masking ways. There could be, like you said, the barrier. So let's say it's like you're only seeing the side of someone's hip. Then you can use what is it called? Strapless thongs.
Okay.
For whether you have a penis or a vulva, you can use a strapless thong. If we're able to, we'll also put a barrier inside that piece so that there's extra padding between the bodies, depending on what the angle is. If you have one person riding on top of another, their genitals are generally, unless there's like some wild, crazy reason why we have to have that angle in a certain way for a certain shot, they're not going to be on top of each other like that. So you're going to use body positioning that's offset.
Gotcha.
Because you have the camera that can mask things.
Right.
So, you're really not going to have like a penis right on top of a vulva.
Right.
And even if you did have to have that for whatever reason, there's going to be barriers that are put in place. So you'll use something that's kind of like a yoga mat so that it's a nice thick barrier, because what you were talking about with getting a hard on accidentally at work, that's called arousal non-concordance. And so you can have an arousal reaction in your genitals when your brain does not want to. And this happens in any type of situation,
of course. Totally.
And that is a real concern for actors, especially actors with penises, because you don't know, like you're sometimes a penis will do it because you're nervous.
Exactly.
So it's literally just blood rushing to your penis. So
they have mind their own.
They truly do, and it doesn't mean that you're aroused, and it doesn't mean that you want anything or you're trying anything or anything like that. So that is a scary thing for actors. So our being there to talk through that and talk through all of the ways that we're going to help mitigate that, if that is something, like I would never say to an actor, like, you might get a hard on, that's so inappropriate. I would never say that to an actor. But if they were to say it to me, like, hey, I'm feeling really nervous about this scene because I'm afraid, what if that happens?
100%.
Then we can talk about all the different ways. Maybe we're going to shoot it differently. Maybe we're going to change the blocking. Maybe we're going to change the camera angle. We're definitely going to have barriers there. So for us, we have to just create the illusion of the sexual act.
Gotcha.
And that's going to be with angles and barriers and being smart with camera, being smart with lighting. Like, how can we cheat this? What do we actually have to see? And of course, all of this is going to be, it's kind of like, what's the director's dream vision?
Right.
And then what does each individual expect and feel comfortable with? What is their vision? And how can we align those things in a way that everyone is a full, confident yes? And
I love that.
You know, it's
consent across the board.
Yeah, and it's not really like enthusiastic consent, because you could be shooting, you know, a harassment scene or like a rape scene or something like that. You're not necessarily going to be enthusiastic about shooting that, but you can feel confident in shooting that. So you really focus on like the confidence and fully understanding, like you said, everything that's going to happen, what is going to happen in this dance. And it's not us that's choreographing it necessarily, but it's like all of the prep work that both of us put in is what creates something awesome for the audience and a healthy, safe experience for the performers. And that's what we want, right?
Yes, 100% on both sides. Like, I know our biggest thing too, before we get started, like, it's a conversation between the performers themselves, just like their do's and don'ts. And then it's also like the director to the performers, because they have like a little earpiece in too. Ooh. So the director is telling them, like, pretend like you're about to come in like 5 minutes, or talk dirty to him, or like, let's switch to the next position. Like, all this is like all thought out. So everyone that's watching porn there, this is planned.
Yes, like, it's all planned.
It's
all of it is.
Planned.
Yeah.
So like, just sitting back and watching that was so interesting to me. And hearing from your side for like mainstream too, that changes things for me too, because when I was younger, I mean, not too young, but the movie Monster Ball, seeing Halle Berry in that position.
Oh yeah.
I can never watch it. It just like,
I haven't seen that. I have to watch that. But like that, we didn't have enemies, so there was no one protecting her.
Oh my God. It was almost like watching like my mom in a porno or something like that. I was like, this is not right for me. I was like, I never wanted to see Halle Berry like this, nor it was just like so graphic and so intense. I mean, she killed it, but I was like, wow. But like, it helps to know that like, there's something dark in there. Like, there's something in between there. So yeah.
Well, now there is, but there didn't used to be. Like that's not the way
when did this start?
Really about 2017 was the first time that we started to see intimacy coordinators, and that was with HBO. Someone wrote their dissertation paper. I thought it was 2015 in my head, but I looked at the paper the other day and I think it was 2006 actually. But that was more for theatrical. And this was their PhD paper. It was on intimacy, you know, creating intimate scenes or whatever. But we really didn't start to see intimacy coordinators until 2017. And that was after, here she is. Ruby has joined the conversation.
She's like, wait, pussy what?
Pussy who? That's right. That's my girl. It wasn't, you know, 2020 is when SAG, that's the guild for the actors, the Screen Actors Guild. That's when SAG put together the guidelines for the first time. I'm actually studying under the person that helped them put together those guidelines. Yeah, it's Amanda Blumenthal.
Okay.
So that's where I'm getting my certification through. And so that was the first time that we actually had guidelines. Everyone was like kind of sort of winging it and doing their own versions. Then it started to get standardized. And then in 2021, I think it was, SAG started accrediting different programs.
Gotcha.
So like checking off, like we have all this specific type of training, because a lot of it is also mental health training. It's sexual harassment training. It's diversity and inclusion training. It's gender and sexuality. It's a lot of the stuff that I've already done as a sex educator. But there's so much that goes.
There's a lot.
There's so much that
like
goes.
My head is spinning already. Yeah. Like, this is crazy.
I barely even covered it.
It's why it's like you don't think about this stuff. Like all the stuff that goes down to just a good scene, whether it's like penetration or no penetration, it's just a good scene that we're trying to get out of it. But there's so many steps that you have to take to get to that point, and to make sure that everyone's happy and everyone feels included and it's consensual, you know?
Yeah, because here's the thing. When everyone feels safe and secure and like you trust your scene partner,
it's going to be bomb.
It's going to be so fucking good. And like, there's this idea that I've talked about this a lot, so people might be bored of it, but like there's this idea that intimacy coordinators are there to like make it unsexy and like take away the sex away. It's like, honey girl, no.
They're there to
we are
save your
here
life.
to make it hot, because if you have two actors that like maybe they don't like each other in real life, you know what I mean? Like that happens. Like you have people that might fucking have. Okay, what was that movie? It was terrible BDSM. Grey, 50 Shades of Grey.
I refuse to watch it.
Yeah, it's like everyone's like, oh my God, BDSM is amazing. I was like, that was actually abuse. That was not BDSM. Okay, that is literally not how it works. So please do not watch that as a measure.
Okay, but hold up, because it slapped me around a couple. No, I'm joking. Okay, continue.
No, listen, I'm all for BDSM and kink and all of that.
But it's all about how you do it.
It is all about how you do it, and it is all about who has the power and control. It's power play. It's consensual power play with respect and collaboration, and all of it is collaboration. But anyway, those two actors, from what I understand, fucking hated each other.
Really?
Yeah, and like that happens. You don't get to choose who your scene partner is.
We had something like that happen to us just recently too. We had two performers that used to date, and then they had a nasty breakup,
and that happens
too. They were booked together for the shoot, and I was just like, everyone was like murmuring. There was like chatter all around. I was like, why is this such a big deal? They're like, oh, you don't understand. Like they haven't spoken since the breakup. This is the first time they've seen each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. So the scene happened and everything worked amazing, but then we had an end scene. So how we do things, we like shoot hardcore first, and then we like, after all that's done, we had lunch and everything, and then we started to shoot our intro.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so sex scene went amazing, spectacular. They were professional. And then we had the intro, and in the intro, they're supposed to have like a little mild hookup in the doorway of this house. This like little mild hookup was so intense and so passionate. And I was like, you can tell that there was something there.
Yeah.
You can tell, like, I don't know if it was a revenge, like, hookup, revenge fuck or something that just happened in front of my eyes, but that was intense and there was so much passion there. I was like, this scene's going to be insane. Yeah. Because of that.
Yeah.
And then after the cameras, like, cut and everything and everyone was wrapping to go, they finally had their, like, conversation. And believe it or not, like, they talked it through and they were so much better after that. And I was like, it's crazy what it takes for people to like drop those barriers and feel and be able to tap into that vulnerability. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a moment to come or something, and then you can just go.
Sometimes you got to come to clear your head. Let's be honest. Like,
there's been times that happen, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go.
Well, especially for people with penises too. Yeah. That happens. Maybe a little bit more than people with vulvas in terms of like getting really cloudy and needing to just get to that point of release, because ultimately that's what an orgasm is. It's 100%. A release. Like you have all of this like pent up energy and you need to release the energy. And sometimes like for whatever your body parts are, like that's going to be the fastest, easiest way. Don't do it at work. You're going to get fired. But you know, like, you know, you got to watch where you're doing that.
Each its own. But, go to the bathroom or something.
You know, do what you got to do. Just don't get fired. But yeah, it's, there is validity to that because it is that pent up energy. And so sometimes to clear your head, you got to come.
This is very true. This is very true.
Come to clear.
I love that.
That might be the name of this episode. Come to clear your head.
Please. And then I'm getting shirts made. Calm down.
Oh, man. Okay. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up, believe it or not, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Very small, very religious, very conservative. But yeah, I grew up there, and then I went off to college 45 minutes away to Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I went to Western Michigan University.
What a cute name, Kalamazoo.
Oh, right. I loved it. It was really fun.
It's funny.
That was the cutest thing about it, was the name.
Oh, God.
Kalamazoo is disgusting.
Oh, boy. What do you remember about sex education growing up when you were younger? Like, what's the earliest memory you have?
Oh my God, I feel like I didn't even have a sex ed class. Like we did, but it was like a joke, you know? Like that was where we had the flower babies. It was like a home ed class.
My God,
babies.
Yes.
We had the flower babies where we had to carry around for a week. And we had to like, change the diapers. We had to like fill out the logs and everything. What else did I learn?
As if you fill out a log when you have a baby.
No. The log is like you not sleeping. Like, oh, you didn't get enough sleep?
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Oh, you look wild as hell. You're fine.
But then I do remember maybe talking about a few like the common STDs, stuff like that. But we never went into like the graphics of anything. And then of course we never talked about like same-sex intercourse either.
Oh, of course not.
Like not at all. I think it was like glanced over like, oh, this could happen, but we won't talk about it, you know? So it was like, and I feel like too with those kind of classes, they try to put it out too soon. Like, it was like middle school, I think I took this. So it's like, okay, cool, I'm not really going to pay attention to this. I mean, me, myself, I wasn't having sex at that age, you know? Like, maybe, like, let's start doing this at, like, freshman, like, year of high school, you know? Where people would be like, oh, okay, so I wasn't doing that right last week. So, you know?
Or, you know, when I think about sex education and age appropriate, it's learning how your body works.
There you go.
You know, it's this whole you don't need to be talking to 13-year-olds about STIs and sex and all those things.
Because it doesn't apply to them.
But what they do need to know about is what a period is.
Yes.
And about discharge.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if you have a vulva or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, boys or people with penises should also be learning
Mm-hmm.
that people with vulvas have discharge to normalize it. And, wet dreams and porn literacy and all, like, they are finding this shit on their own. So, like, all of that kind of stuff can be taught before you're like, don't make a baby.
This is very true.
There's so much that goes into sexuality and just understanding your body. Yeah. It's just talking about your body and the weird things that happen in your body.
Oh gosh. And then also, while we're on the topic, it's like sometimes the school doesn't do enough, and then the parents feel like they need to step in, like, oh, just like the name of the podcast. Like, I'd love to play on that because it's like, oh, the birds and the bees conversation. No one really has that conversation to the right extent of it. It's whatever your parents feel is comfortable for them to tell you, or what they want you to teach, like want you to know. Yeah. Like no one's giving you like the full spectrum of everything. And then also, even when they sit you down for that conversation, you're squeamish about it. You don't want to hear that from your mom and dad.
And they are too.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's weird. I think my mom tried to like corner me in the bathroom and have the conversation. I was like, that's not happening, ma'am. Like, let's keep it moving.
Oh my God. So like, listen here, kid. I know what you're doing in this your bathroom. I know you're taking those long showers.
I think my mom walked to me once and I was like sitting down to pee, and I got like ripped a new one for that. Like, guys do not sit down to pee. So I was like, yeah. So I think that's when I got into like to have a lock in the door.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like the conversation should be brought up, and it should be brought up in like the right time with the right information and with the things that you were mentioning. Because I feel like I didn't learn some of those things until luckily, I was raised by like a house full of women, like my aunts, my mom, my sister. So I knew a lot more than like most males knew, Yeah. So it kind of cracks me up like when guys get like weirded out about that kind of stuff, even at my age, It's like, grow up already.
Yeah. It's honestly gross behavior. And listen, it's gross behavior. But, it probably comes from a place of fear and shame of not knowing it themselves, and this toxic masculinity and like this whole idea of like guys should be like this with a tampon as opposed to being normal. Right. Like, it's a fucking tissue for your vagina, basically. Right. So, it's just there's a lot of undoing that has to be done. But I think so much of that shitty behavior is coming from a place of shame and fear and things that they themselves don't even recognize are going on inside them.
That's true. That's very true.
And especially, you're one of a million boys that grew up with a mom or a dad or anybody being like, you can't sit down to pee. What the fuck are you doing? Right. Like, which is, you can pee however you want to.
I need a fucking break. Let me sit down when I can.
I am fucking tired.
Let me take a seat.
You want to aim this thing? You're yelling at me because I'm getting pee everywhere, and now I can't sit down.
Right. It's like, okay,
you don't want me to pee everywhere.
You get pissed now when I get pissed everywhere. Like, I can literally just sit and be clean.
Exactly. It's efficient to pee while sitting down.
It really is.
I think that's such a weird thing to not allow someone to do.
Well, I think it just falls under the whole gender role.
It does, 100%. 100%.
Which is really disgusting in itself, Like, we're going all the way to the point of like when I go into the bathroom and relieve myself, it's like based on a gender role. It's like, that's absolutely ridiculous. Like, are you going to tell me I need to brush my teeth in a certain manner? Because like, it's weird. It's crazy.
I mean, if you look historically, that is how women and people with vulvas were treated, as like, you have to sit sideways on a fucking horse.
Oh, yeah.
Like the things that you need to do to survive, you can't do in a safe way because of what you were born with, which, by the way, people are intersex too. So this is all fucking, that's why I'm like, it's so weird.
The world's a weird place.
It's such a weird place.
It's a weird place that we live in. And I feel like it's only getting weirder as we go. There's a lot of weird things that are happening, but there's a lot of like things that are coming to light that have taken too long to come to light. But I do feel like with that, I feel like now we're just like going all over the place and like experiencing all this like unseen terrain and like just like I don't know, dabbling in all these different areas that's so new to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, it's interesting to see how it goes.
It's a really interesting time, just generally speaking. This, and I've had this conversation with so many people in my life. The year after COVID, not that COVID is gone, it's still around, it's still a thing, of course. But like this is 2023 is the first year that we were able to coexist in the most normal way that we have since the pandemic hit. And it feels like so many people are going through like weird, funky transitions. I mean, we have the 2 strikes that were just happening, more strikes happening. You know, it's for a lot of people, it's like a day of reckoning, but also expansive, but also cocooning, but also like there's so much going on in this specific year.
I feel like we had a mental breakdown as a nation.
100% as a world. Yeah, forget about a nation.
Yeah, that's very true. As a world, and it's just so wild. And I feel like a lot of stuff that's come. We came out hornier than ever.
So horny.
Like
so horny.
The amount of sex that's plastered everywhere is crazy to me. Some good, some bad, because it's like it's interesting to see how that is taking other people, you know, because like some people are like diving into sex because of the mental illness, you know? Yeah. So it's just like different avenues, but coming out of that COVID and that quarantine moment has definitely like presented a new world.
Yeah, and ultimately it's the intimacy that people are craving.
Yes.
And you're not necessarily getting that from the sex that you're having or, you know, I think it feels like we're seeing a lot more of kink and BDSM right now, which is great because I think people are just learning that there are all sorts of different ways to experience sensations and pleasure and all of this. And that's really fun and exciting. But it is, we're coming out into a different world and it's been, everyone seems to be in a weird spot.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
I have to agree.
But you've been thriving with this job.
He has. I've been doing my best as I can. You know?
What do you think is one of the biggest things that has shifted for you since diving into this work? Either personally, maybe your feelings about the work?
Definitely my feelings about the work. Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I definitely had some kind of a side eye looking at sex work. I don't know. I was just like, do you really want to do that? Is that really your passion? And now being in it, yes. Some people are like, I'm a slut and I want to get paid for it. And I was like, you get that, girl, you know? And so just like talking to the performers and just like seeing like their journey and like how their families deal with it, how their relationships deal with it, how is it like finding a mate, keeping a mate, you know? And then also like the longevity, like what do you plan on doing afterwards? And like, how does it make you feel? I think for me, even the reason I started styling, because I always wanted to boost that confidence in women. That was my major goal. That's why McQueen is like one of my favorite designers, R.I.P. He was like, I want to dress women that people would be afraid of. Like, you want to boost that confidence of a badass bitch. And so with my styling, that's all I wanted to do. I love that transformation of when I put a look on a client and have her walk out and she feels like she's killer. And then to get that text like, oh my God, I got so many compliments and I feel so good. That's what it's all about for me. So when I got on set and I was working with these women, that was ingrained in my head. Yeah. I was like, I don't care what we're fucking doing. I'm about to make you look so dope. And if I'm making you look dope enough where he's about to like bang you, then that's even better.
Oh my God.
So that's what like it really resonated with me. And that's why I love so much what I do, because just how these women like own their bodies and how they are like utilizing their bodies to their choice and doing what they want. And then also seeing the bread that they're making from it. I'm like, girl, like it's insane. But I think that's where I learned most from it. It's just like, this is a choice that they're making and it's what works for them and they're happy about it. And I love seeing it.
Yeah. And we do make that assumption that people working in sex work don't want to be there. They're being abused. And there is that does exist, but it's not what you think it looks like. You know what I mean? No. It's, and there are far more people that are empowered, that are owning it, that are like, I love to fuck.
And I'm good at it.
And I'm good at it, and I want to make money, and I look good doing it, and I want to make money, whether that's on OnlyFans or in a professional setting like you're in. Not that OnlyFans isn't professional, but there's obviously a different production level going on there.
The people, the new talent that we get that come from like those, like from like OnlyFans or like working for other production companies too, they get to our set, they're like, holy shit. Like, I feel like I just like walked on like Universal set, because like we literally have an insane like camera setup, lighting. There's probably like 20 people working with us. Like, it's an intense production. But yeah, like you're right. Like, people never know, you know, until you give it a try at least.
And I think that attitude also, it takes away the respect and autonomy of the performer. It's like, oh, you think that this person who is fucking badass, like, look them go. You think that they don't, like, you don't respect them enough to think that they could be, that they want to do that that's their choice, that the power is in their hands, that this is them driving the car. What does that say about you? Exactly. You know, like, that says a lot more about you than that performer who's doing what they want on their terms. And, you know, again, like, not every situation is great, but same thing with actors, same thing with mainstream acting. They get taken advantage of all the time.
All the time.
You know, like, so what are we talking about here? If you want to have a labor conversation, we can have a labor conversation. You know what I mean? Like, that's across the board. It doesn't matter if you're clothed or not clothed or fucking or not fucking. That's a labor conversation.
Or we could talk about how many like girlfriends or boyfriends or what have you that are in relationships doing things they don't want to fucking do, but still stuck in it. This performer is going on like set, doing what she wants to do and good at, and leaving with 10, 15, sometimes 40 grand and for an 8-hour shoot. You know, so it's like, do you want to fuck for that washing machine that you were stuck in that mirror not wanting to be, or do you want to do it on your own, you know?
Duty sex is okay, but getting paid to do it is not. What are we talking about here? Duty sex, for people who don't know, is when you have sex with a partner because you feel like you have to. So quite often that happens in cis straight relationships, which is different than the fundamental Christian whole thing with like the wife has to obey the husband. That is a different situation. And quite honestly, it's rape. Then you have duty sex where it's like, oh, I have to fuck him today, or like, I have to have sex with her today. Not saying that it doesn't happen that like men are having duty sex with other men or whatever. It quite often happens with cis straight couples.
Because it's a gender role.
It is a gender role. Exactly.
No, 100%.
Yeah. And so it's like, you can't, first of all, we shouldn't be judging anybody for anything, even people who are in situations where they're having duty sex. There's a reason why they're there. They maybe just don't have the tools or awareness to understand what's happening. Maybe they're not there on their journey. We don't know. We can't judge. We don't know. But don't be judging the people who are getting paid and who are signing contracts and reading those contracts and adjusting those contracts. Like, it is a full-fledged profession. Sex work is a profession, deserves payment. Making adult films, that is a full-ass profession, deserves getting payment and hiring good people to do good work. You know?
Amen to that. No, and I honestly, it's funny because sometimes I am very shy to bring up what I do. A lot of people are like, what do you do? What do you do? And I just say, like, I work for a production company. I never say exactly what, because there is such stigma behind adult work. And I'm just like, look, like, I'm in an arena where people are seeing my potential, and I'm moving up quicker than I've ever moved up with any company before. And that's because I do have that freedom to show my creativity. I'm able to, like, we're a small enough company where I do have, like, the right eyes on me seeing what I'm doing. And also, like, it's just creative freedom in general, you know? Like, sex positivity, like, I love that. And I love seeing people do what they love and get paid for it and thrive off of it, you know? So,
I mean, I'm feeling the energy with you talking.
I had a really good day today. So.
No, I can feel it. I can feel it. You're bringing it in. It feels so good. Like, when you're talking about this, I feel good in my body. Hearing your passion for what you're doing, and that's like, what a fucking dream. That's what we all want, right?
That has been my motto ever since I started working. Is I refuse to get a job that I'm not passionate about. There's so many. I mean, there are not so many opportunities, but I'm not willing to settle for something just for a paycheck. If I don't like getting up and going to work, I mean, no one like loves going to work, but if I'm like literally dragging my heels being like, why did I take this job? I don't want to be there.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm so passionate about it, because it's like everything I do, I want to be passionate about it, because I feel like I won't be able to give my best if I don't care about it.
100%.
So
yeah. Yeah. And then you won't be able to thrive and grow and feel as good as you do. And that's so important. How do you deal with this with your family?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have been so far removed from my family for years. Like, I moved out when I was 16, and there was like a period that we didn't even talk. But now we're like actually really good. Like, even my mom, my grandmother as well, RIP, lost her last year. But I've been so open with them. And my mom loves hearing the stories. She loves hearing the beginning of the story. And then when I get to like the really graphic, she's like, oh my God, I don't want to hear that. She's like, I can't believe you're doing this. I was like, I love it. So like, everyone loves the stories. It's pretty funny. My sister and I, we go back and forth too, because she has her own like things too. So we were like, oh my God, I was like, girl, you got to try this. Like, I saw this today. You got to try this move. So no, it's funny because I get to let them know about what we're doing. Or like sometimes I have to shoot like an editorial shoot for each like film that we do too. Ooh. So they love seeing like the behind the scenes photos of all that stuff too. So yeah, they're very open.
That's great.
Yeah, no, they love it.
Are there any areas in your life where you have come up against like the challenge of working in the adult industry?
No.
Good.
Honestly, no. And I think that has something to do with where I live. With LA, everyone's so open. Yeah. Anyone that I've like talked to, oh wait, nope, I lied.
Here it is. We got one.
There we go. Bingo.
We got one. Had to be one.
Yeah, I was like seeing this one guy, and he worked for like a really not high, but like a really well-known clothing brand, online brand that has like designers, blah, blah, blah. He ran a lot of like the editorial like content. And I was just joking with him. I was like, oh my gosh, I should come like be a stylist for you. And he's like, I don't think you'll like what I do. Or like, I don't think you'll like working there. And I was like, why? He's like, well, because everyone's like really set and like they really like that's what they came there to do. They're really serious about styling, and I just don't feel like you can keep up.
Oh, I do not like this, man.
Even like retelling the story like burns my soul. Because what bottom line is, if we were to really sift this through, he's saying that what I do is not to the level of what they do.
Yeah.
Because they are sitting there dressing e-com models all day, that they're better like technically than I am. Which is so not true, because I personally have to look at who I'm styling. I have to deal with a range of different bodies that aren't just like rail thin. And I also have to style based on a script as well.
Yeah.
And portray that emotion and that vibe, wherever we want to portray within that scene, through clothing alone. Not just giving schematics like, okay, put that shirt with this to shoot for e-com.
Also, you're shooting film, and that means that those clothes have to come off.
Exactly.
And so you also have to think about exactly like, how is that coming off? And like, do we want this to be sheer or not? I mean, I'm thinking about like, as an intimacy coordinator, I need to know everything about the costumes, because I need to know if a bathing suit is going to get wet and I'm going to see through it.
Exactly.
Okay, they're wearing a nightgown. Can I see through that nightgown? Okay, they're wearing boxers. Are these boxer briefs? Like, what are we seeing in this? Like, is it going to get wet? What happens? How does it come off? Like, there are so many more questions you have to ask when you're dealing with clothes coming off, moving objects, clothes coming off. Like, and especially for you, because for both of us, but I'm not making the costumes. I'm just like protecting the actors in them. But it's like, what story do you want to tell? Because each article of clothing,
it's going to speak.
It speaks.
It's going to speak on that camera.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like, and honestly, getting into this job was my first position actually dealing with film. I've styled editorial, I've styled commercial, I've done all that super easily, but getting into actual, like, a full-on film, there's so many things that I didn't even think about that you have to consider. Like, with the jewelry, I can't have anything that, like, rattles too much, because that's going to catch on the mic. Or like same like you said with like shoes, I have to make sure that it's an easy strap for her to get out of if we need to kick the shoe off. So there were so many things that I had to think about. Certain prints you can't do because they like read on the exactly.
Yeah, they do all that.
So it's nuts. And it also like styling someone for film really made me appreciate clothing much more too. Because it's that article of clothing, like I said before, everything speaks that you put on a person. The way it hugs the body, what it's revealing in the body, and the emotion that it's going to make the person wearing it feel.
Yeah.
And then also just like how luxe it is, you know? Do you want to make her look like she has money, or do you want to make her look younger? Like, all this stuff has different attributes that I need to consider when I'm shopping, when I'm packing, and when I'm on set styling.
It's so much.
Yeah, it's
Costuming
crazy.
is so
It's nuts.
much.
It's very exciting, but it's also, when you sit back and think about all the stuff that you have to do, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's a craft in itself.
Did you get a lot of reactions of people being like, what do you mean you style for adult films? Aren't they naked?
Before you finish that statement, I literally hate that.
Yeah,
because it's like, okay, so what porn are you watching? Maybe, like, sure, maybe fast step forward, but and then also, like I said, there's a different quality of porn.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of stuff that you see on, like, Pornhub and stuff like that, that's just the quick stuff.
Yeah.
You know, where the pizza guy comes to the door and, like, they just bang. Like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm actually styling, like, legit films.
Yeah.
Like, I just finished a feature that was, like, a 5-part feature, total of, like, 5 hours if you watch it back to back, and it tells a full-on storyline, you know? So it's like, these people are wearing clothes.
Yeah.
And it probably takes a minute before the clothes get off, because you got to get the story in, you got to get the emotion in, and everything, you know? So,
which is part of the sex, which is what we can learn in our lives.
Exactly.
It's part of the sex. All of the interactions, the texting, the talking, the going on a date, the rigmarole of getting ready, adorning yourself to prepare for sex.
Too. Yeah.
Like, that is the sensuality of it. And that is the sex. And that's, you know, when we talk about in our real lives planning for sex, well, you're kind of always planning for sex in a way, you know, but when you actually put more thought into it, it's going to be better sex. You're going to have a better time
100%.
Because everyone's prepared. But part of, like, the getting dressed for sex.
Oh, I love dressing up.
Oh my God, that's the best.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
You're already getting turned on. You're already preparing the body.
Yes. I'm like, okay, you can wait a couple more minutes because I'm still, like, really enjoying this moment here.
Right?
No, it's a vibe.
I am preparing for this.
It's a vibe, but I think not knowing that and not seeing that so often is what gives that notion to, like, men, women, what have you, is that you immediately just hop into a hookup.
Yeah,
like,
the spontaneity aspect. And that's, like, not how we work.
There's no build up anymore. Like, everyone thinks you just drop your pants and go at it. And I think that that's so crazy. And I also feel like people aren't having good enough sex then. Because if that's all that you do, you're missing that edge.
Yeah.
You're missing that moment, that passion, that moment when you're looking into someone's eyes and you both are really in it. Like, sweat pouring and you guys are in it.
It's the eroticism. You're missing out on the erotic play and the erotic energy.
100%.
And eroticism has nothing to do with putting a penis in anything or anything into a vulva or rubbing anything or anything like that. Like, this can be an erotic act. You know, it's just like how you interact with someone, how you converse, how you look at them.
100%.
Like, all of those things build into the eroticism.
Yes.
And that's why the storytelling porns are better for people with vulvas because they want the story, because that buildup that allows us, because listen, what you're creating is fantasy. Any film that you're
100%.
making, it's storytelling and fantasy, right? But especially in adult entertainment, you're building a fantasy. And part of the fantasy for so many people with vulvas is the lead up. It is the buildup. It's all of those teeny tiny moments that we've been talking about, the building of eroticism that you can't get from a 5-minute video, you know, like also very few people want to have sex.
I was about to say, no one wants the jackhammer.
No one, I don't like to say no one because some people are like, well, I like it. It's like, great, good for you. You were like the 0.00001%. And the reason that people with penises like the jackhammer is because of the like you were saying, like, you got caught once. Well, when you were growing up, for the most part, you have to rush jerking off, and it's the adrenaline, and you have to do it so quickly so that you're not getting caught. And so you've trained yourself to come in a certain way from certain stimulus. And however you masturbate, if you're masturbating in the same way every time, which the majority of people do masturbate the same way every time, all the time, all you're doing is conditioning your body to react in a certain way to that stimulus.
Right.
So the jackhammer comes from decades of jerking off fast so no one catches you, and not taking your time, and not learning all of the different erotic zones in your body and how to play with those things.
No, very true.
You know?
Oh, wow. I learned something today.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know I was coming for a lesson, but I'm here for it.
Welcome to it. Birds and Bees Don't Fuck. We sneak it in.
Love.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of sneaking it in, what is
Let that settle. Okay.
Wait, I'm going to say it in a different voice. Speaking of sneaking in.
Yes, please continue.
What is something that you would like to leave people with?
I've been thinking about this all day, and I was like, I knew when I got asked a question like this, I would completely like blank. I want to leave people with the fact that whatever you're into, whatever like makes you happy, do it. And that's with profession, and that's within the bedroom, that's with whatever makes you happy and gives you joy, fucking do it, because you're going to regret down the line doing stuff that you didn't want to do, and then when you finally get settled, like, what the fuck have I been doing all these years? You know, if you want to dabble in that like hardcore kink sex play, please do it. It's actually really fun. Fun. But yeah, no, and you never know what can come from it, you know. So
I love that. That's such a beautiful and powerful message, because we do, unfortunately, waste a lot of our time doing things that we don't want to be doing, being in relationships we don't want to be in, having the sex we don't want to be having, working the job we don't want to have. And granted, there is a point of privilege in that, in terms of like how you make your money and whatnot. Right. But generally speaking, a lot of people do have choice in this. Right. And so I love that.
Can I say one more?
You can absolutely say one more. Because
this one's very important to me. And this is for all my girls and male performers that I'm like close with. Respected performers, please. Yes. Like, what they do is a fucking skill. Like, you imagine you go have sex with someone that you don't know, but you're doing it for it's your job. And also making it seem like that's like you've known them for years. Yeah. Like, that is a fucking skill.
It's like, and there's a lot that they have to do to prepare for that. Yes. Like, there's a lot that they're doing for their bodies. Obviously, 100%. There's a lot of like props and special effects that are used and all of that stuff.
But it's still very hard on their bodies. Yeah. It's hard on their bodies. And just seeing that, and I just have so much more respect for them. Yeah. It's like, you know what? Good for you. I know I couldn't do what they do. I could not. I absolutely could not. You know? So I'll stay on this side of the camera and I'll make you look dope. But you do that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I think that's a really great thing to leave on, because it is a really hard job, no pun intended. No, like it truly really is. And sometimes it's a soft job, and that's hard. And that's hard too. Yeah, we're too good at this. We're so good. Oh, where can people find you? So you can find me on obviously Instagram. My handle is my full name, Braxton J Holme, Holme. And honestly, that's all I have. I don't get down the Twitter. So it's like, I can't. Instagram only. And, my website too. www.braxtonjholme. I keep everything consistent, so you can find me across the board. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for having me. A fun conversation. Yeah, I love talking about this stuff, and I love having the perspective of somebody who works in adult film and getting to talk about that with, comparing it to intimacy coordinating and all of that. So 100%. Super fun. Thank you so much. Thank you. I learned so much, and it was a great time. Yay. If you like this podcast, give me a like, subscribe, send it to a friend, send it to a kinky friend, send it to a friend who likes adult films, send it to your mom. See how she reacts, and then write me about it. Yeah, leave a review, do all those things, help me spread the word. I don't know. I think that's it. Love y'all. Bye.